history of Opticom really is that we came out of a fibre optic cable manufacturing business, and back in 2005, we could see that high speed, big bandwidth broadband was going to be ubiquitously required. And with our knowledge of fibre optics, we also understood that it was only fibre that was really going to be able to deliver that bandwidth and see that long-term growth potential. So as a result, Opticom was formed, and it became one of the pioneers of the fibre to the home business in Australia. But not only in Australia, we were also one of the first players in fibre optic to the home anywhere in the world. But we also developed the wholesale-only business model, and that was used some 4 years later by the Labor government to establish the NBN. So the NBN essentially was established off our business model. In fact, we actually deployed the first stages of NBN in Tasmania in 2009 because NBN weren't able to do that at that stage. We'd already been deploying for about 4 years when they were first formed. Ever since then, Opticom has been first to market with almost all of the new or enhanced offerings that make up the Australian market of today. Indeed, I think R&D is probably part of our DNA. Be it from our R&D lab that we have in Perth, or our multi-vendor equipment platform, or our close relationships with all of the major land developers across Australia. So we've really become the benchmark by which technology is measured in new housing estates, and they are becoming extremely technology savvy. Importantly, we are essentially operating 100% fibre optic networks, so they're state-of-the-art and the most future-proof solutions that are available today. We do operate in a regulated environment, but interestingly, the same legislation that protects the NBN also protects Opticom. The federal government mandated in 2016 that within Greenfield, all developers would be required to provide fibre-ready facilities in all buildings, units, or lots within their new real estate developments. Furthermore, they mandated that developers had a choice of provider, so they could choose NBN or a private provider like Opticom. And regardless of choice, the developer was required to contribute to the cost of providing that phone and internet service. They also legislated that there would be a once-off fee for the homeowner to pay to connect to the network. So they made it compulsory in new developments, and they legislated that developers had to contribute to its construction, and in so doing, they've ensured the long-term viability of Opticom. There are three main revenue streams for Opticom's business model. Firstly, Opticom gets paid by the developer to design and build the network throughout the development. We provide the pit and pipe infrastructure and the fibre around the streets of the new development. And we then connect it back to our NOC, our Network Operations Centre, that's in Melbourne. And at that stage, these developments, there's normally no houses built. Secondly, as the homeowners build their homes, Opticom charges the homeowner a once-off fee. We do a truck roll and we drag the fibre from the street into their homes, and then we connect it to our network. Once they're connected, the homeowner can contact any of the 33 plus retail service providers that we have, like iiNet, Internode, Exetel, iPrimus, etc., who all have connections to our network. And within a few minutes, through software, the homeowner is activated with their chosen RSP on a speed plan and a bandwidth allocation that they've chosen. So this is where our third and ongoing recurring revenue is generated, because we then charge the RSP a monthly charge to access that homeowner. There are many advantages of a full fibre network, including having the lowest OPEX and almost unlimited future growth potential. For the average person, there are two factors that affect your internet performance today, and they're speed and bandwidth. No other technology can match the maximum speed nor the bandwidth of fibre. At Opticom, we actually think, however, that bandwidth is more important than speed. So your home is becoming a mass of connected devices. It's forecast that within a decade, the average Australian house will have 50 connected devices. That's 50 devices all competing for bandwidth. Some technologies like mobile or wireless are a shared spectrum technology, whereby the maximum bandwidth they can supply is shared by the number of devices trying to use it. By contrast, fibre bandwidth can be continually increased as demand increases. Interesting fact is last year, 96% of all downloads were completed on a fixed line network, because at home or at work, we know that these networks can better handle the demands for reliable, fast, large bandwidth. So who are our customers? We work with all the major developers, including Lendlease, Mirvac, Stockland, Frasers, Meriton, etc. And we're involved in some of the biggest and the most important developments across Australia. I'll give you some examples. In Queensland, we have a 10,000 lot development within the Springfield development, a further 16,000 lots at Yarrabilba, and we have several developments in regional towns as well, including Townsville, where we have the Elliott Springs development. We also do all the Living Gems retirement villages here in Queensland. In New South Wales, Barangaroo is one of our largest developments. We also have a 1,600 apartment development at Darling Square. We've got an 8,000 lot development with Oran Park for their Broadacre development. And we've done 3 really feature-rich, high-spec apartment towers for the Crown Group. Interesting ones in Victoria, we have Minter Farm and Mount Atkinson sites. Both of these are interesting because they're deploying smart city rollouts. And that's something that we believe will go mainstream going forward. This is where they use the technology to have a look at things like what's the moisture content in the playing fields? Do they need to turn the sprinklers on? What's the number of cars that are coming and going through certain streets? So they need to change the roadways. They can also do the monitoring for the parking. So a number of things that are developing with the smart cities. With Villawood, we are providing security and home automation offerings to their residents, which is a natural extension to our standard in-home offerings. And once again, we think that'll become more prevalent going forward. So we actually now, not only are we providing the voice and data, but we're starting to provide some of the services that they require within the house. Security has certainly been a very big one of those. Victoria is also home to the Eastland Shopping Centre. They did a big upgrade there where we deployed a host of services, including 200 retail shops. We did all the building management service integration for a whole shopping centre, the CCTV, the Wi-Fi, the access control, digital signage, data analytic collection, including number plate recognition and park assist technologies. Our homes and our communities are getting much more intelligent. In South Australia, projects include Glenside, the old psychiatric hospital, where we're deploying 1 gigabit services. They're Australia's fastest domestic offering, and we're doing that to over 800 townhouses and apartments. We're also doing 1,100 townhouse apartment at the old Mitsubishi plant in Tonsley Park. In WA, we work with Satterley, WA's largest developer, and it's also home for 2 new hotels, the Westin and the Aloft, and they both use our networks to facilitate whole of business automation and integration. One of the strengths of Opticom is obviously our large pipeline of contracted work. We currently pass more than 106,000 lots, of which we've connected more than 76,000. Most of the difference between passed and connected is purely timing. The fibre is in the street, but the houses haven't yet been completed or the residents haven't yet moved in. And of the 76,000 that are connected, nearly 60,000 have signed up for active services. So that's about a 78% take-up rate, and that's been consistent since day one with us. In addition to the 106,000 already passed, we currently have 24,000 in WIP, and in addition there are more than 100,000 already contracted and yet to start. So at current rollout rates, that equates, without us taking a single new order, to 5 years of forward construction work already contracted. The network data consumption that we've experienced to date shows no signs of levelling off. And that's beneficial to Opticom as we are intrinsically tied to bandwidth growth. So what's driving this growth? I think some Cisco-provided data may help explain it, because they forecast that global IP traffic will increase threefold over the next 5 years. And the number of devices connected to IP networks will be more than 3 times the global population by 2022. Globally, IP traffic will be 82% of all IP traffic. Virtual reality, or VR traffic, will increase 12-fold between 2017 and 2022. Internet gaming traffic will increase 9-fold in the same time frame. And they also predict that broadband speeds will double by 2022. So this data growth has a direct correlation to our growth. The more data required by more and more devices, then the more bandwidth that must be purchased from Opticom to meet that demand. Faster broadband speeds are also beneficial to Opticom. The faster we want to see that data, and the faster that data needs to be displayed to avoid lag or jitter, which is common in IP streaming, then the quicker we will see the drive towards increased speed plans, with 100 megabits or greater being the norm. This will result in an increase in plan price and the subsequent return to Opticom. So the worldwide growth in speed and bandwidth demands are all positives for Opticom. However, bandwidth demand is no longer only focused on the internet. We are living in a digital world where our lifestyles and our communities are based on interconnection and seamless integration. So this demand is a major differentiator between Opticom and NBN, for example. NBN's model is based on a build it and they will come mentality. They provide the base infrastructure and the market will have to work out how to use it. Opticom, however, believes that the middleware of a network is as important as the infrastructure. And we've invested a lot of resources and money ensuring that we have this capability. I guess we've all seen those wonderful presentations showing simple plug-and-play connectivity, the big fluffy clouds with lines that link them all together. Now, they look good on a PowerPoint, but that's actually where the real hard work gets done. And it's this middleware that makes everything work seamlessly. Therefore, at Opticom, our model provides an end-to-end solution to the developers, ensuring that whatever digital service the community needs, that they can rest assured that we've been tested and integrated on our network. So this slide we sometimes call our technology stack, and it shows some of the options that we offer to developers. By comparison, NBN only offers the 2-stack offering, which we've labelled Essentials. So if you want any of the other offerings, then you need to come to Opticom, and that's why developers do choose us. Hopefully I've given you a little bit of a snapshot of what Opticom does and why we think we are different. We believe that the old legacy encumbered, slow, costly and ageing networks of the traditional telco are dead. Opticom is an example of what the new telco will look like,